4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Good afternoon, this is David Miller. I'm actually up in Schenectady, New York. Man, I'd heard of Schenectady, but didn't really know where Schenectady is. So I'm just up here with a good friend of mine, Kenny Braswell. And we rolled through Schenectady to inspire fathers, man, at the Community Fathers Conference. And so we're in town for a day or two. And so I run an organization called the Dare to Be King Project. I've been at this thing, I tell people I've been at this thing a long time, over 20 years, really doing intense work with children and families across the country. I mean, way before there was even My Brother's Keeper, way before there was even a lot of this energy around black male achievement. A good friend of mine, a mentor in Baltimore, gave me a book that really changed my life, man. He gave me a book called Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. It's written by this brother out of Chicago named Jawanza Kinjufu. And when I read the book, I was absolutely blown away because it really started to answer a lot of questions, right? It really started to answer a lot of questions in terms of looking at things like dropout rates among black males, what's happening to black fathers, what's happening in the school system. And so I realized, because I graduated, the book came out in '85, I graduated from high school in '86, and then went on into college. I realized, man, that I really wanted to be a change agent in my community. And then I realized that my community was just bigger than the city that I grew up in, which was Baltimore, Maryland. And so literally over the last 20 plus years, 25 years or so, have been a writer and have been doing some really interesting work with particularly young black and Latino males across the country. I wrote a curriculum called Dare to Be King, which I tell people it was really a major body of work, and it still is. It came out in 2003. First edition came out in like 2003. Then we just recently rewrote the curriculum after Trayvon Martin was killed because we really wanted to add some pieces about what happened to Trayvon. And so a lot of the work that I do, I'm like a troubleshooter, man. Agencies hire me to do specific projects, whether it's curriculum development, staff development. Still do some work with young black males in communities, but a lot of the work that I do is really on the technical assistance side, because a lot of organizations need, again, curriculum development, support, and or staff training. And so involved in, a bunch of really creative projects, doing a lot of fatherhood work with Kenny Braswell and Patrick Patterson, doing some really interesting work with Brother Ron Walker and Kozbach around trauma and how do we ensure that schools are trauma sensitive, realizing that so many children come to school every day dealing with issues that they're dealing with. While I'm a former school teacher, I started my career teaching school in Baltimore in a very tough middle school in West Baltimore. And even though I grew up in the city and had experienced the same kind of violence like some of these other young people, it really hit me the day that I took 2 loaded 9mm handguns from 2 of my 7th grade boys. It was really a very eye-opening experience, and I turned the guns into the police, but I didn't turn the young men in because I didn't want them to get expelled, because they would have gotten expelled from all Baltimore City public schools for bringing a weapon to school. Because when I took the boys home that day, and although I had driven through their neighborhood, and I grew up in West Baltimore, they grew up on the side of West Baltimore that I hadn't spent a whole lot of time in. And when I began to really talk to these young brothers, understanding really how dangerous it was in that part of West Baltimore and the challenges that they had to deal with just navigating coming to school, I know firsthand what it's like for children who are coming from these very tough neighborhoods. And this issue that so many of our babies are dealing with traumatic
instances on a regular basis. I'm doing some really interesting work around creating trauma-informed schools as well. You can reach me. Website is www.daretobeking.net, DARETOBEKING.net. And you can also find me on Facebook and Twitter.